Oh, how the tide has changed. They're the ones suffering now. It was okay when you were the one suffering because of what they were putting you through. But like my mother used to say, he who feels it knows it. You were going through the motions, and that toxic person just could not empathize. In fact, they were comfortable knowing that they were the ones who were causing you the pain. They didn't care how you felt. You were just too sensitive according to their pathetic little brain. That was because they didn't have much empathy at all. They have to feel what you were feeling in order to feel sorry, not for you, but for themselves. It doesn't matter what they did to you. As far as they are concerned, they're feeling the pinch now. And only what they feel matters. In fact, they did you wrong. And because they're paying the consequences, it's all your fault. Because even though they did you wrong, they were not supposed to suffer. They were not supposed to reap any consequences of their actions because they are just that special. They will go out in public, they will go around friends, family members, and they'll put on an act as if everything is so wonderful, so great, just everything is just running so smoothly in their life. But after all of that, they have to return home. They have to be with themselves. When no one is around, they have to feel those feelings. They have to sit in the darkness they created and that they welcomed, not knowing how horrible it was going to be for them. When they were inflicting all that darkness upon you, they couldn't care less. But now, since karma has visited them, they don't even know how to deal with being alone. That's why they try to go out all the time. They try to be around people every chance they get. If they live alone, they try to be out as late as possible so that when they go home, the only thing they need to do is fall asleep. But for some of these people, sleep does not come that easily. And God has it precisely that way because these people are not supposed to experience any peace. All their life, they created chaos. And they are so delusional to think that by living a life like that, they can still have peace and they can still have joy. And I'm not talking about any fleeting joy. You know, when they're at a party or when they're having fun or whatever like that, all that is fleeting. I'm talking about real joy, lasting joy, peace, serenity in their life. They don't have that because they don't have peace, serenity, and calmness of mind. How can they have that internally? Anybody can put on a show externally. Anybody can take pictures. Anybody can smile for the camera. Anybody can put on an act as if around people as if everything is just going so well. Anybody can do that. You see that all the time. And then you would hear of a story where you find out that these people were actually living in hell. These couples, it was a lot happening behind closed doors. So don't mind these toxic, narcissistic people out there acting as if they are living their best life. They are literally going through hell on earth. And some of them have to go through hell on earth before they go to the other hell, because that's where they're destined. Some of them actually have to go through it here first. They have to feel what you felt, only 1,000,000 times worse. A lot of these people, they were forewarned. They had people trying to help them. They had people who loved them, who stuck with them, who meant them well, who cared about them. And all they did in the end was they spat in their faces by the way they treated them. And now they're paying the consequences. They are reaping what they sowed. And it's an internal conflict that they're dealing with. They're being tormented by those same demons they allowed to manipulate them. They happily allowed it, while they in turn manipulated you and treated you like trash. So let them stay. in the sewer of a life that they have created. They're not your problem. While you thrive and you go on with your life and watch God's blessings overtake you. I have a new book out called Healing After Betrayal. It's to help you heal emotionally, to establish boundaries, and to reclaim your peace. You can grab your copy by clicking the link in my bio. Much love to you.
My friends, how are you? It is fantastic to see you for yet another video, but as always in Donald Trump's America, I don't come to you with fantastic news because every day it's one damn thing or another with just bad news for the American people. You know, coming from the president that said he was going to fix everything on day one and people lined up by the millions to vote for this con artist. We've got the con artist striking yet again, and this time today it is the red states once again, the ones that come out in huge numbers to vote for Donald Trump, that are dealing with the most bad news in what is happening today. So what I want to talk about is more layoffs in the American economy, more closures, more American blue-collar workers losing their jobs. My God, are we all getting tired of this yet? Because we see it over and over every day. More and more Americans lose their jobs in Donald Trump's ever-collapsing supply chain. That's what we always got going on. Anyways, what I'm going to do today, I am linking you to an article in the description that you are welcome to have a look at, but it comes from FreightWaves, which is a news source that I lean on quite a bit to figure out what the hell is going on in the supply chain, to go along with my anecdotal evidence of what the fuck is going on out here. Why are all these truck stops empty? Why is there no freight moving around this damn country? And so far they've been pretty reliable, except that time. You guys remember that time where they put out an article saying that JB Hunt, a massive carrier in America, was closing down their over-the-road division? If y'all remember that, everybody that night had a damn heart attack wondering what was happening to America's supply chain, only for them to correct themselves at like 4 or 5 in the morning and say, whoopsie daisy, we screwed up on that. But anyways, what I'm talking about today is an alcohol distributor that is closing down. They're basically selling to another country that, I mean, not country, company that is going to, looks like, result in about 4,600 jobs in America being lost with this liquor distributor. And shocker, my friends, the majority of those jobs are coming from the red states, the majority of those jobs lost. So I'll be looking over here trying to get sort of the notes, doing this a little more professionally than I do in the truck, where I actually look at what I'm talking about instead of trying to do it off the top of my head. But this company is called Republic National Distributing, and it says that they are shrinking their footprint. All this corporate speak for "you're fucked and you are now out of a job," shrinking their footprint is a new one to me. But anyways, Texas, Florida, Virginia, and South Carolina are all amongst the hardest hit in this liquor distributor closing down. And do you guys see what's in common with all of those states? Every one of them: Texas, Florida. Well, I don't know about Virginia. I'm going to be a little nicer to Virginia because I don't know that that's necessarily a red state. You remember they just came out and voted for the redistricting, giving the Democrats a major advantage when it comes to the upcoming midterm elections. And for anybody out there whining and crying and bitching, because we're hearing that from a lot of MAGA right now, this is unfair what Virginia is doing. Can you believe this? I would propose that maybe you shut the fuck up, because it was the Republicans that started this arms race when it came to gerrymandering, starting with the state of Texas when Donald Trump said he was entitled to an additional 5 seats. And I did not hear MAGA whining and crying and bitching because Texas did that. Do you know why? Because the MAGA movement doesn't actually have any principles and morals that they actually stand on. And if they were opposed to gerrymandering, they would have stood with the Democrats on the many times that Democrats have tried to pass a fucking bill stopping gerrymandering in this country, but they won't do it. You know why? Because they don't actually believe in anything they stand for. So when they start crying that the Democrats are being mean to them again, well, you're not going to find a lot of fucking sympathy from me. But anyways, I'll be a little nicer to Virginia because maybe I got that one wrong. But the other one being South Carolina. 3 out of 4 of those, at least, are red states in America that voted for Donald Trump to make America great again and bring the jobs back to the country and lower prices on day one and whatever line of bullshit that son of a bitch threw at the rest of us. So Republic National Distributing excuse me, is planning widespread layoffs and facility closures across the U.S. as part of its sweeping restructuring plan. The closure and layoffs are tied to the sale of RNDC key assets to Reyes Beverage Group, according to the Warren filings and company documents. So basically, this company is selling out to another country I keep saying country, called Reyes Beverage Group, and the Texas RNDC, a major wine and spirits distributor, said the moves could impact thousands of workers nationwide as it exits multiple markets and transfers operations to Reyes, one of the largest beverage distributors in the country. Now, there is a lot of factors at play in this, my friends, a fucking ton of factors at play. If you guys watched my earlier live stream that I did with Guard the Leaf, I was sort of mentioning the freight trends as far as I'm seeing them in the with the stuff that I haul in the country right now. And I had pointed out in that live stream that one of the things I used to do quite frequently was haul Whirlpool products out of Iowa. Those normally went to Texas. And I have noticed I have not been to the Whirlpool facility in months. They have not needed my truck there to move that product. And that has a lot to do with, of course, Whirlpool shutting down, moving their manufacturing to a facility in Mexico, even after Donald Trump promised that tariffs were going to bring manufacturing back. A major appliance manufacturer is just closing up shop, as far as I can tell, or at least eliminating a ton of jobs to send them to Mexico. But another interesting thing I noticed was I haul a lot of freight out of Denver because I live near Denver and come here pretty frequently. And I normally haul things like pet food that I see a lot leaving Denver. And I also do a lot of hauling, which some of you guys will find this interesting, even though it's boring as shit. Economically, it's a big deal. But I used to haul a lot of cardboard out of a landfill here that would go to a facility that would recycle, right? The reason they were recycling was to make packaging for new products, and there has been pretty low demand in my anecdotal evidence for that product to move, right? But out of Denver, what I have been doing a fucking lot of is hauling beer out of Denver, which points to a couple things. The American people might be drinking more. Yeah, how else do we cope with the reality of the world we live in? But if you know anything about the kind of beer that comes out of Colorado, this is just cooled down piss, basically. We don't sell good beer out of this state as far as like on a mass scale. Now, I'm not going to pick on like the microbreweries or anything like that, but the massive beer distributors are cheap bullshit beer that nobody wants anyways. And what I'm seeing is this major shift to cheaper beer in America. Anecdotally, in my evidence of what I'm seeing, because what's happening here is people can't afford shit anymore. And with Republic National Distributing being a liquor distributor, I bet they are taking a hit on the bottom line because Americans just can't afford the nicer things that they used to have. And now they are going to cheap Colorado beer to fill that void in their lives. So they have decided to sell out to this Reyes Beverage Group. Also, there's another part to this, right? We have seen, and I don't know how much it affects freight movement inside America, but it does. We've seen global boycotts of American products because we've got a dictator running amok all over the world, thinking he can dictate to other countries what is going on, up to and including taking over entire countries if he feels like it, which has kicked off massive boycotts of American products. So we are probably seeing less shipping of this liquor, because as we know, I just said that I wasn't sure how this affects travel within the United States, but then I quickly caught myself. Remember, a lot of the liquor used to go to Canada, who the Canadian people have a boycott of American products that has been hitting the Kentucky bourbon distilleries very, very fucking hard. Well, this distributor that's losing this also, that is selling out to another distributor and costing a lot of jobs, which I'll get to in a minute, because I know there's someone in the comments calling bullshit on what I'm saying and saying that it's only being sold. Well, hold on, Cupcake. Wait for me to get to the fucking point. All right. We take a minute to get where we're going. I would bet it's tied to the global boycotts of our products too. So not only do you have Americans clearly switching to a cheaper product because we cannot afford as much as we used to when it comes to obviously the tariffs that caused everything to cost more, but also the extreme high gas prices now that are hitting every one of us. And I think that might be part of the shift of what we are seeing going on right now. And it is super interesting. RNDC, the original distributor, issued a conditional work adjustment, the WARN notice. You guys know about the WARN notice. They're required to send these out when they're laying off their employees, with total job cuts expected to reach as high as 4,677 positions that will be lost. So, this transaction, this sale of the company, it spans at least 7 markets, is what it says, including Arizona, which I don't know. I don't know that they're solidly red or solidly blue. I don't know much about Arizona's politics, but Colorado, my state, getting hit by it also. Florida, Maryland, South Carolina, Texas, and Virginia, significantly shrinking RNDC's geographic footprint. I'm so sick of these fancy fucking words. Can we just start calling it what it is? But anyways, company filings indicate that while employees may receive job offers from Reyes, remember, that's the part I was talking about just a second ago, there is no guarantee of continued employment. So in Texas alone, RNDC plans to cut 1,903 jobs across 5 cities. Those are Grand Prairie, Houston, San Antonio, Austin, and Corpus Christi. Well, I feel bad for Austin because I know Austin comes out to vote blue for the most part. A lot of Texans don't like Austin, as far as I understand. I'm not from Texas, but I spend a lot of time there. But they don't like Austin because they tend to vote blue, and that grinds the gears of a lot of Texans all over that pretty red state. Not as red as they want you to believe that it is, but pretty red state. And in South Carolina, the company will permanently close its Lexington area facility, affecting 451 employees. So even though the company's being sold, all the jobs won't be there in the sale of the company. There will be people losing their jobs because of this. So basically, they're selling out and being downsized immediately. These people are losing their jobs. And then Florida shows potential layoffs to 4 cities: Deerfield Beach, Jacksonville, Pensacola, and Tampa, totaling more than 1,000 impacted workers. And look, I couldn't be more happy for the state of Florida. And I get it. If anyone's mad at me out there right now, I know it's like every other state where, especially every other red state, where it is absolutely dominated by a bunch of cousin fucking hillbillies that go out there and vote against their own goddamn interest. And the blue dots out there are always the ones taking the hit. But look, I couldn't be more thrilled for Florida right now. You just cost yourself 1,000 fucking jobs by voting for Donald Trump and allowing him to wreck the economy that you are living in. And in Virginia, and like I said, Virginia did good. Virginia did very well with that redistricting, and they are losing 428 employees at their Ashland distribution facility. So a lot of fucking people losing their jobs. And it goes on to break this down by state. And this makes me kind of happy. Now, I'm not happy to see job losses, especially in, I'm not happy to see job losses, period. I could have told you this shit was coming if people would have paid attention when I was talking years ago. I mean, it wasn't a political channel back then. I was doing a trucking channel. But if people would have paid attention, I've been telling you all for years that this shit was going to happen, that this was how this works, especially when you put Donald Trump in power. But anytime you put Republicans in power, you lose jobs. That's how it fucking works. So that goes into the point where I get so goddamn frustrated on this channel when people start yelling at me that both sides are the same. Look, Democrats have their flaws. They certainly do. And us as the voting base, we need to fucking fix that. But when it comes to job growth, it is always Democrats that when they are in charge, that America experiences the highest rate of job growth. And Republicans, we're lucky if they don't cost us jobs every time they're fucking in office. We are lucky if it ends with any kind of job growth whatsoever. But Texas loses a total of 1,903 jobs in this. Florida loses a total of 1,046 jobs. Virginia with 428 lost. South Carolina with 451 lost. Arizona with 211 lost. Colorado with 320 jobs lost. And Maryland with 318 jobs lost. And this, my friends, is Donald Trump's failing economy at work. I often hear from a lot of shitheads out there that say, bro, you're telling us about 4,000 jobs in a country with, now I don't even remember the fucking number, 300 million. I don't remember the population of the United States. Maybe I could Google that real quick while I'm talking. But what I'm trying to point out with that is it's never about just this one job. 342 million there. I wasn't too far off. Anyways, it's never about just this batch of jobs that have been lost. It is the total effect of Donald Trump's destruction at work, right? These are just more jobs lost in all the jobs that he has cost the American people through his reign of destruction over the last year and a half in this country. In my industry alone, regardless of all the shitheads out there that say I'm lying, the BLS has reported, Donald Trump's BLS has reported over 100,000 trucking or trucking related positions lost in this country over the last year. And knowing that Donald Trump likes to rig those numbers to make himself look better, I would estimate that it's probably at least double that. And I'm watching my industry get tore down because of Donald Trump. I think it was somewhere over 1 million Americans lost their jobs in Donald Trump's first year from the president that said he was going to bring all the fucking jobs back. Remember that guy? Yeah. And then we have to constantly listen to Trump supporters tell us it's all part of the plan. You have to go through the hard times to get through the good times, or whatever bullshit they say about short-term pain for long-term gain. You sons of bitches, there is no long-term gain. That is not happening in this country at all, and it is completely fucking made up. And yet again, we see that many more jobs fall in Donald Trump's ever-failing economy. And this one doesn't make a whole lot of sense because a lot of people like to have a drink, right? I understand that the younger generation with a lot of wide legalization of weed have all, I sounded weird saying that. I've never partake much in that because when I was a youngster, it was illegal. So it just makes me paranoid. But anyways, with that, I understand a lot of younger people have moved towards that. But it's not like all the older folks just died overnight. Like there's still a market for it. There's still a very sustainable market for it. And with people having to forego the the more expensive liquor options and lean into that cheap piss water Colorado beer that we sell out here all over the country, it is indicative of where the economy is going. And people are tightening their belts saying, I can't afford the liquor anymore. I better just have me a cheap ass, disgusting beer instead. And that's what I'm going to do. And we are watching it happen over and over. And I think I might have distracted myself, but the point is there is no long-term gain. That is a lie. That's a carrot on a stick dangled in front of the MAGA dorks that buy up every piece of bullshit that comes out of Donald Trump's mouth. And once again, we are witnessing more job loss, my friends. Just keeps happening over and over. Anyways, that's it. That's the video. I better go ahead and head out of here and find some stuff to do around the house while I'm here. Love you guys. Bye now.